So, remember yesterday this was about completing the square. So step 1 is to put the like variables together. So 9x squared minus 54x plus 4y squared plus 40y equals negative 37. So we want to get the like variables together, and we want to get the constant on the other side. Everybody good with that? Seem good? All right, we're then going to factor the coefficient of the squared. So in the first one, it's 9. That'd be x squared minus 6x. Then we're going to complete the square. What's half of 6? 3. And 3 squared? 9. We're then going to do the same thing with the y's. What's the coefficient of the squared? 4. We're going to complete the square there as well. Half of 10 is 5. 5 squared is 25. And then we're going to take the negative 37 and add to that 81 and 100. Everybody good with the 81 and the 100? Anybody not? Because we multiply by the outside number. So now we're going to factor 9 times x minus 3 squared plus 4 times y plus 5 squared equals 144. So that's what we want to get it in first. Now, with an ellipse, the right-hand constant is always equal to 1. So we're going to divide by whatever that number is. In this case, 144. When we do, we're going to have x minus 3 squared over 16 plus y plus 5 squared over 36 equals 1. So that's converting it to what? Standard form. All good? All right, center comes from the opposite of parentheses. What's the opposite of negative 3? 3. What's the opposite of positive 5? Negative 5. So 3 negative 5 is my center. I'm then going to look at my fractions and see which one is bigger. Is underneath the x bigger or underneath the y bigger? The y. That, ladies and gentlemen, is your a squared. You then do the square root. What's the square root of 36? 6. That means I'm going up 6 and down 6. Those are my vertices. Those are my vertices. So that's going to fall at 3, 1 and 3, negative 11. Notice the x-coordinate is always the same. One of your coordinates will always be the same throughout this process. Now, in order to graph, we need the co-vertices, which fall on the minor axis. All right, for that, we're going to do the square root of the other fraction. What's the square root of 16? 4. So I'm going to go to the right 4, which puts me at 7. And I'm going to go to the left 4, which puts me at negative 1. That gives me the outline of my ellipse. I feel pretty good about that ellipse, and there you go. There's your graph. The last step is to get the foci. To do that, we do c squared equals a squared minus b squared. In other words, we subtract our denominators. What's 36 minus 16? 20. Which would make c equal to plus minus 2 root 5. To find our foci, we then add and subtract that value from the center. So again, the x-coordinate is going to stay exactly the same. When it is a radical, we're going to start with the y-coordinate of the center, put a plus minus 2 root 5. And there we go. Yes, ma'am. So what you're going to do when you divide, you're going to go to your you're going to go to your calculator. You're going to ignore the variable part, and you're just going to take the 9 and 144, simplify that. 9 over 44 reduces down to 1 over 16. Make sense? And then the same thing with the y. Everybody else good? Okay. Now, we're going to skip down to the bottom too. You will have an outline of all these notes tomorrow that may be beneficial to you. All right. So when you do these, they're going to give you one of two things. They're either going to give you one of three things. The vertices, the co-vertices, or the foci. The center is always located at the midpoint of those. So if I look at this one, find the standard form of the ellipse with vertices at 0, 4, and 4, 4, and a minor axis length of 2. So there's my graph. My vertices are at 0, 4, and 4, 4. All right, so those are my vertices. The center is at the midpoint of those. So the center is located at 2, 4. Everybody okay with that? The distance from the center to either vertex is your A. How far is it from 2, 4 over to 4, 4? 2. So that's your A. The second part is what's going to vary. They can give you a variety of things, and we'll practice these today. And then again, you can practice them tomorrow and work on that the entire sheet. The minor axis length is 2. All right, so that means my y has a total length of 2. Well, the center is what fraction of the way? Half. What's half of 2? 1. So that means your co-vertices are 1 unit away, and b is equal to 1. All right. So now I'm looking at x minus h over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. The reason I put the a under the x is because I know my major axis is the horizontal. If my center is 2, 4, this becomes x minus 2 squared plus y minus 4 squared, and I know I'm going to have a 1 over there. A is the distance from the center to a vertex, which is 2. What is 2 squared? 4. B is the distance from the center to a co-vertex. In this case, 1. What is 1 squared? 1. It's your choice whether you want to write the 1 or not. Boom, you have your equation. Make sense? All right, and the one next to it, the foci are at 0, 2, and 0, 8. So those are my foci. Just like the vertices, the foci are located on the major axis. So for this one, the major axis is the y. So a squared is going to be underneath that. So I got x minus h squared over b squared plus y minus k squared over a squared equals 1. So even if you do nothing else on the take-home quiz and do that, at least you can get that. All right? Now, just like with the vertices, the center is located at the midpoint of that. So I have to find the point that is midway between 0, 2, and 0, 8. What's 2 plus 8? 10. And what's half of 10? 5. So that is my center. So this becomes x squared, or x minus 0 squared, plus y minus 5 squared. I'm going to write my equals 1 over there. Everybody good with that part of it? All right. Now, It says the major axis length has a length of 12. The major axis has a length of 12. So from one vertex to the other is 12. Well, if I'm looking at an ellipse, if that's the length, the distance to the major vertex, once again, is what fraction of that length? Half. What's half of 12? And what's 6 squared? So that becomes 36. Everybody good with that idea? If they give you an axis length, divide it by 2 and square it. If it's the major axis length, that should be a squared. If it's your minor axis length, that should be squared. Make sense? They're giving nothing, and I do mean nothing, no piece of information about the covertices. At that point, that's when you need to use the foci. C squared equals a squared minus b squared. We already know the a squared, that's 36. We did that in the last part. What we're going to find is c, the distance from the center to the foci, to either focus. How far is it from 5 to 8? 3. That means that c is 3 and c squared is 9. You then solve not for b. You don't need b. You need what? B squared. How do you get rid of the positive 36? And you get negative 27 equals negative b squared. How do you get rid of a negative? You switch your signs, and b squared is what? 27. So what am I going to put underneath the x squared? 27. Seem good? Okay, you're going to work on the 2 above it, please. You're going to work on the 2 above it, please.